This episode is brought to you by the members of the You Run Podcast Network. All of their shows and our own can be found at yourunpodcast.com, along with links to our socials and to our shop. So please head over to yourunpodcast.com today and find your next podcast experience. We are the home of entertainment.
Oh my dear God, Jesus.
You want to die tonight?
The dad jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. But the two one podcast.
Doesn't matter how lame you try and make it sound, that's still fucking awesome.
I had to do that because I found out the hard way on a previous episode where I used that. It's heavily copyrighted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we dropped the actual version of that, I don't know, 10 episodes ago, and it is the most work I've ever gone through to get something on YouTube.
Excellent. Yeah, because Lord of the Rings is king, that is why.
That's pretty much what I was told when I uploaded it. It was like,
Facts.
absolutely not. You cannot use that. I managed to get it on in the end. But yeah, it was a challenge. Hello, welcome to the You Run Podcast, a horror movie review flavor. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And we are an interactive horror movie review show run by everybody listening and everybody following us on our social medias. You can find us on social media at You Run Podcast. We're absolutely everywhere. If you venture to the Instagram, or the Gram, as the kids are calling it, go and find Mark. He's at Reviews from the Crypt or at VHS from the Crypt. If you're too lazy to find us on Instagram or social media as a whole, go to yourunpodcast.com where you'll find our website, links to all of the other shows in the network, links to all of our shows, links to all of our socials, links to our shop, all the things you could possibly need that are You Run Podcast related. If you have never listened before, we will give you a brief overview of this movie. We'll then do a deep dive into what we liked, what we didn't like. We're going to bring you some facts. Then we've got some games. Then we've got a memes to make you mad that we teased a couple of weeks ago, and it is bad. It's really bad, and I'm naming and shaming and photo dropping people on Instagram who are absolute dicks who need calling out. I'm going hard this week.
Brilliant. I'm here for that.
Honestly, some of the rage that I felt, and I was like, do you know what? Actually, no, I'm just going to go and take your profile picture. I'm going to show the world who you are, you little asshole. That's where I am. We are back on Remakes Month after our special episode last week. We're back on our Remakes trajectory, and we've got a really cool episode lined up today. It's a really cool episode. In 1980, forensic psychologist Will Graham inadvertently took down the infamous cannibal Hannibal Lecter while he was using him as a consultant on a serial killer case that turned out to be Lecter's own crimes. After being stabbed and mentally scarred for life, it's safe to say Will was less than enthusiastic to work with Lecter again to hunt down a new killer in town known simply as the Tooth Fairy, with incredible performances from Ralph Fiennes, Edward Norton, Anthony Hopkins, Philip Seymour Hoffman. The list goes on and on and on. I could be here all day literally doing that. Today we look at, it is a remake as well, before anyone comes at me, the remake of the 1986 movie Manhunter. Today we look at Red Dragon.
Ride with me. For my pleasure.
For my pleasure.
Ready. I am ready for this episode. You know my passion burns bright for Thomas Harris's Hannibal Lecter world. I love it unconditionally. I love the TV show. more than you would ever know. I need another season of that TV show. I love the movies more than you will ever know, and I'm currently reading the books. I've read Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs. I'm halfway through Hannibal, and I only started that 6-7 months ago, and I'm just burning through those books, man. So good.
When we done our last remake, I made the fatal mistake of watching the original, followed by the remake, and then I shit all over the remake because it just didn't hold a candle to the much better original. So this week, I've taken a completely different approach. Having watched Manhunter, I don't know, September, October last year, I've left that just as my memory, and I haven't watched it again. And I just watched Red Dragon, so I could judge it on its own merits without every 2 seconds going, well, actually, Manhunter's better because it done this.
Oh, that's funny that, because I'm going to do that exact same thing this week because I
fabulous.
watch Manhunter regularly because it's awesome.
It is. And one thing I'll say is like, these are both very faithful adaptations, and they use a lot of the dialogue from the books. And because they do that, there are a lot of scenes that are almost identical in dialogue, way they're shot, like everything is almost exactly the same.
It
And
is, but at the same time, there are so many contrasting elements that are so very, very, very different, and that's down to Hollywood, not necessarily down to remake month. Um, what they do with the original Michael Mann's Manhunter is a very, very faithful novel adaptation up until the final act.
yeah,
What they do with Red Dragon is they inject Anthony Hopkins into every single scene and then have a very cool ending, which is faithful to the book.
exactly. Shall I burn a fact for you? I would burn a fact early. Anthony Hopkins is in scenes with Will Graham or Edward Norton exactly the same amount of times he was in scenes with Clarice Starling in the original Silence of the Lambs.
Which is wild because in the book Red Dragon, he is in one chapter.
Yeah.
And in the Michael Mann movie, he is in one scene.
Yeah. So in this, he's in 4 scenes, which is exactly the same as the amount of scenes he was in with Jodie Foster in the original. Which again, I thought,
And even
was
then,
really
when
cool.
he's not in scenes, he's in voiceovers in this movie. He is everywhere.
And I think that's a Hollywood decision because they know Hannibal
Yeah,
Lecter has not
100%.
sold these movies.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's a sequel to Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. You know, I know it's necessarily a prequel, but in order to draw audiences in and make them feel comfortable, you have to inject Anthony Hopkins because otherwise they would have thought that this story wouldn't have stood on its own 2 feet, which I'll be perfectly honest with you. You could have just had the singular scene with Will Graham going to the penitentiary, and that would have been just enough for this movie.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
a lot of things in this film do suffer because of the insistence of having Anthony Hopkins there a lot.
Which is a wild thing to say.
It
One
is.
thing I love they do in this is we get a good look at Lecter's world before he's arrested. And I love Lecter on the loose. Free Hannibal Lecter is the scariest guy ever because he's a socialite, he's an aristocrat, he's very well thought of, he's very well mannered. He lives in this high society world. And the first kill we get is where he kills and serves a really bad flute player to his guests because it ruined the sound of the orchestra, which is actually mentioned in Hannibal, that she brings up in Hannibal. He once killed a flute player because he ruined the symphony. And then in this movie, they show it. And he's great. Like Hannibal Lecter, when he's not behind bars, is truly terrifying.
Yeah, because he is so calm and calculated. I think that's why I love the TV series so much, because it showcases him free and wild for 90% of that show. Oh man, I need a season 4. I need a season 4 of Hannibal. Brian Fuller, man, stop fucking about doing other shit. You've been sacked from Friday the 13th now. Just go back and give a season 4 of Hannibal.
Yeah, it needs to happen. Will Graham in this, I love Edward Norton, but Edward Norton is always Edward Norton. I always
everything
see
he does.
He's just Edward Norton, whether he's Hulk, whether he's Will Graham, whether he's whoever, he's always the same guy. And as good as he is, I don't buy him as Will Graham. He doesn't.
He's not. He is a worse iteration of Will Graham. He is just so monotone throughout. And I fucking don't want to do it. And I don't want to be like, oh yeah, they're contrasting the two. But this is just going to be a Manhunter versus Red Dragon episode throughout. I don't care what anybody cares. That's how this is going to play out. What William Peterson does in the original Manhunter, he shows the true depth of Will Graham's character. He shows the conflict that he has, and he shows the balance and the fine line that he walks to separate himself from being the bad guy and being the good guy, because he feels that he is one step away from being a serial killer himself due to the insight within his mind and his ability to view these crime scenes the way he does. He's constantly has that inner battle with himself, and William Peterson does such a fantastic job of showcasing that on screen. But here in this version of the story, you never get that from Edward Norton's character. I don't know if that's a writing fault, because there are so many scenes that are so important to this story that is breezed by so quickly. So, for instance, the first real main scene that we get is with the worst Jack Crawford that this franchise has ever seen in Harvey Keitel. Is it Clientele or is it Clientele? Keitel, yeah. Harvey Keitel. He is the worst Jack Crawford ever. He is just the cleanup guy from Pulp Fiction throughout this movie. He doesn't have any range whatsoever. And one of the most important scenes in the story, in Manhunter, and what should be the most important scene in this movie is when he comes to Will Graham with his family. And again, something that also pisses me off in this movie is they don't specify that this isn't Will Graham's actual family. That isn't his actual son. He's just fabricated this life because that's his cloak and his disguise that he wears, or similar to what Dexter does in the TV series. Another thing that's brushed by so briefly in this movie that should be highlighted. There's no impact. There's no battle between Will Graham and how impactful to his life and how impactful to his mental health that it is that he returns to the FBI after the incident that he dealt with Hannibal Lecter. Like, that is something that is such a pivotal point in the story, and it's an axis for everything else that goes forward. And in this movie, it's just breezed by in such a casual conversation, man. It's such a letdown. It really is.
You know, it really is, because like they do the original bit where Will's trying to solve the Chesapeake Ripper, who turns out to be Lecter, and Lecter shanks him, and he shoots Lecter, and we get this. Lecter gets arrested, and like all of that shit happens before the opening credits. Like this whole world before his arrest, like that happens before we get the Red Dragon title card, and then Will goes down to Florida. And like the amount of emotion that's in him in Florida.
It's just so frustrating. I want to be in Florida getting a tan on my back.
Crawford goes down there, it's like, oh, we need you to work with Lecter again. And there's not even any real resistance. It's very much like,
well,
I'll look at the file. And then he goes to the crime scene, and then we get superpower Will Graham. Because in the book, Will Graham, if anyone doesn't know, is borderline fucking clairvoyant at how he puts it together. And in this movie, they do a really cool job of showcasing what's in his mind, but it is done better elsewhere. The TV series.
TV series is fucking mind-blowingly well done.
Now, he goes to meet Lecter, and Lecter is absolutely perfect. Hannibal Lecter by Anthony Hopkins is incredible. And like his opening line, like he's laying in bed. So when he meets Clarice Starling, he's stood up. He's very presentable because he knows Will. He's been through the mill with Will already. When he gets there, he's laying in bed with his back to him. And as soon as he walks in, he goes, oh, that's the same atrocious aftershave you wore in court when you sent me to life in here. And you're like, yeah, here we go. And like the mental jousting between these two is fantastic.
It is. It's good, but it isn't as good as Manhunter. Yet again, it's one of the most important scenes in the movie. But Brian Cox, delivers it so much better in Hannibal. He delivers that back and forth between the two of them, and then they have that final engagement where he says, "Do you know why you caught me, Will? Do you know why you were the only one who found me? Is because we're the same." And that
Yeah.
moment is, you have this sheer panic on William Peterson's face as he's trying to escape and he's calling the guard to let him out. You don't get that in this movie. You just get the casual nuance of Will Graham walking away and Edward Norton just being the most bland wooden piece of shit as he does. And again, that is one of those internal conflicts in Will Graham's character that's so pivotal to the story that this movie just misses entirely. And Anthony Hopkins is fantastic. I'm never,
Yeah.
ever going to take that away from him. He's not the best Hannibal Lecter. He's the second best Hannibal Lecter, but he is the best Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. And they're trying to replicate that time and time again with these sequels, which they were never going to be able to achieve. I find his aging drastically. I mean, when he played Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, he was getting on. He was like pushing his late 40s, 50s. Here he is clearly a very much older gentleman. We've had Hannibal since this. We've now got the Red Dragon, which is going back and is supposed to be set before. With the intro segment, they put a ponytail on him and some fucking heavy mascara, and it looks ridiculous. He looks like he's going on a goth night out.
You say that, but it is better than a backwards baseball cap that they use for Jigsaw in Saw when they've done his flashback.
It
They
is,
at
and
least
I've also
tried.
just started rewatching Dexter as well, and the flashbacks in Dexter at the moment are Michael C. Hall with a long wig, and it's fucking ridiculous.
Exactly that.
But it's hard to digest in this movie because he is so much substantially older than what he was in the prior two movies, which were set umpteen years after the events of this film, and like he looks very aged, very leathered, and it's difficult for me personally. Anyway, it's difficult for me to see past that, and I think I just don't think this movie was necessary. I don't think it improved on what Manhunter did. I think there should have been, if anything, I think what they should have done is just highlighted how important Manhunter was as a story,
Yeah,
and the original movie, and made
tied it
everybody
in.
clear that Silence of the Lambs was a sequel to Manhunter, instead of trying to go back and replicate it in such a poor fashion, because it just didn't add anything for me.
You say that though, but people who haven't seen Manhunter, this film's great. Like, there's no taking away. This is a great movie. But
Dude,
if you
I watched fucking Manhunter last year. I'd never read the book. And I remember, if you go back probably 12, 13 months ago on this podcast and listen to maybe a small gap within a month, and we've had various conversations on how Silence of the Lambs has never been on the show, and we need to get Red Dragon on. Red Dragon is fucking best movie. I said that. I sang that from the rooftops. I loved this movie, and for me, it was my favorite of the entire selection. Hannibal, Silence of the Lambs. I was like, this is the best one. We need to talk about it. Then I discovered Manhunter. Then I read the book, and I was like, actually, where have I been living for so long? Because this isn't the case.
See, I like that Hannibal. He's very much Hannibal Lecter's the same in this as he is in Silence of the Lambs. He gives breadcrumbs of clues, and he sends him off to find a painter. And in the meantime, we get our first shots of Ranulph Fiennes, whatever you call him, as the Tooth Fairy. And his grandmother used to beat him, was really, really horrible to him. Did you spot, so in the photographs of the grandmother, did you spot what actress it is?
No, I didn't.
It's Ellen Bernstein. It's an Ellen Bernstein cameo from The Exorcist. Because I saw it, I was like, I recognize that person straight to Google. It's Ellen Bernstein. Amazing. That's brilliant.
That is really, really cool.
We get to meet, so he works for like a medical / I don't know what he does. He's kind of like this courier driver / medical guy. The Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy, he's a photographer. He deals with film and photography and editing videos together.
Yeah, we find that out later. But at the beginning, he's working with the girl who can't see.
Yeah, because she works in the red rooms where she develops the films, and then she gives them to him, and then he edits them together to make video home movies and stuff. That's why she's blind, and that's why she works in that area, because it's a red room. You're not allowed light, so she's a perfect candidate to work in a room like that.
You're fucking blind. You can't see me.
Again, much more better developed in the original and much more better developed in the book. This movie does not give you the context of their relationship and his job and the development between the two of them. Yeah, she develops negatives from cameras and video recorders because they have to be done in a red room where there's no light source.
Right. Okay.
So emphasis on her being blind. She's a perfect person to work in that room because she can work with no lights on.
But they don't.
She's
They
mapped
don't
out the
reveal
room.
it. They don't reveal it.
No,
till
they don't
later.
here.
They use him as a photographer as a big reveal later in the movie.
Yeah, no. Yeah, forget this movie. This movie's dog shit. But in the other, the source material, it's really fucking well developed and it's really, really good. But yeah, he basically takes home people who have home videos and camcorder footage. He basically compiles them into a home video. Emphasis on the big clue and which make them find him at the end of the movie. But yeah, that's known as a factor from the beginning.
I like their relationship. I think she is a fantastic actress because she's not actually blind, but she does. No. She plays a blind character very, very well, and I really love their relationship and the way it develops. And I kind of feel sorry for him because he's obviously he's mentally ill in many many ways. But there's a point in this where like you could have a happy life here, just like. Stop fucking killing people and go away and have a happy life. Like it's there for you, and he doesn't take it. And like he's communicating with Hannibal in prison, and they find the letters in the toilet. There is another huge cameo here. Did you spot who the janitor is who goes and finds the letters in the toilet?
Ooh, I thought he was referring to Barney, who is a mainstay of like every single movie. I think Barney, apart from Anthony Hopkins, Barney is the only one who's been in all three Hannibal movies.
Yeah, so
excluding Manhunter.
The janitor who finds the letter screwed up and put in the bottom of the cistern of the toilet is actually Ron Simmons from Run DMC.
That's awesome. No, I didn't know that.
Which again, I was like, I recognize him. How do I know him? Straight to Google. Oh my God. Like there's so many little cameos like that. How on earth Ron Simmons from Run DMC got a job in this movie? I will never understand that. But he's there. No. And I think it's cool. And like from here, there's a whole thing where they kind of work out what's going on and they want to annoy the Tooth Fairy. They want to draw him out. And this is where we meet one of my favorite actors of all time, Freddie Louse, who's played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is arguably one of the greatest actors ever to grace our screens. Everything.
I'm so glad you've gone down this direction with Philip Seymour Hoffman because he is a fucking tragedy, man. I'm so gutted of his sort of just nonchalant lifestyle that he had and his behavior off screen because he had the potential to be one of the greats, man. And I mean, from what he did in the short lifespan that he had on screen, he is one of the greats in my opinion. Yeah. I'm just so gutted we never got more from him because I feel like he could have been the GOAT. Do you know what I mean? He could have been that good, man. He's such a talent and everything. He's such a chameleon with his roles as well. Everything he does is so vastly different.
Two big contrasting. Take this and then take Patch Adams. Fucking worlds apart, both incredible Oscar-worthy performances. He's so good, so talented.
He was an Oscar winner, wasn't he? I can't remember what he got it for, but I do believe he was an Oscar winner. He's such a talent, man, and it's such a shame. And especially, it's sad when you go back. Excuse me. It's sad when you go back and watch this movie because he's the best part of this movie. This scene with him and the Tooth Fairy, where he's kidnapped, is just so fucking heart-wrenching, man. It's so horrifying and so investable due to you can picture yourself in that situation, that moment where the Tooth Fairy's begging him, open your eyes, look at me and see my splendor. And you can see Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's like, no, because if I open my eyes and I see your face, that's literally me writing my own death warrant, man. Like, I'm done. As soon as I've seen who you are and I can identify you, he delivers it in such a fucking powerful way, man. And it doesn't require it. It doesn't require. You could have got a standardized actor to play this. Freddie Lounds has been played by various people in the past. None of them have touched on the importance of the character as much as Philip Seymour Hoffman does in this movie.
It's so good, and like that bit where the fact he's glued to the chair is also fabulous. Like he can't. It's not like he's tied and he can just rip his arm off. He's actually glued. So if he yanks his arm off, all his skin's going to come off. And yeah, that scene's amazing. And I say it every time it happens, but I do love a good man on fire in a horror movie.
Fireball.
And this is arguably one of the best man on fire stunts. And it is actually a stunt with a proper stuntman who is actually on fire, strapped in a wheelchair, rolling down a road, fully on fire. It is fantastic.
It looks great. It looks great. But again, done better in Manhunter, man. Like the whole point of the story is he rolls him down the car park and he rolls into Freddie Lounds' parking spot in where he picks him up from in the original bit in the van. He rolls him into his parking space and the security guard sees him, and they do it better here in Manhunter and they do it better in the Hannibal TV series. Yeah. The Hannibal TV series was a bit of a little fucking trick shot though, because it wasn't actually Freddie Lounds who winds up in that wheelchair in that movie, in that TV series. Spoilers not intended, but yeah. I do like the way they handle it in the TV series. That's really, really cool. But again, I feel like here, such a simplistic move would have been to follow the narrative and do fan service on a minimal level and push him into his parking space. Instead, he just flops outside of the actual car park, which again, it just, these simple things like that, where like all you had to do was just stay a little bit more faithful. It wouldn't have taken any extra of your time. The people who have read the book, the people who have seen the previous movie would have appreciated a hell of a lot more. And it felt like every time a scene like that happened, that was so important and so impactful, it felt like there was chopping seconds off it. It's like, oh no, we want to do that, but we can't do it because we need to add an extra 30 seconds to Anthony Hopkins' character. And I felt that all the way through on this rewatch. I'm not going to lie to you. Every time there was a scene like that where I was like, oh, you needed to add that extra little bit. And it's like, that's what's being left on the editing floors, so you can add that scene with Anthony Hopkins later on. It's like, dudes, don't do it.
Which is exactly what they do now. So they go straight from this, straight to Will Graham screaming at Anthony Hopkins, I need to find this guy. You need to tell me how. And Anthony Hopkins is like, wow, quid pro quo. What do I get? He's like, look, at this point, what do you want? He's like, I'd like dinner and a show. Like, and I love the fact they give it to him. So he's like sat in his cell. He's got like proper, like 5 like Michelin star catering service. And he's got a big TV and he's watching the opera. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's so good.
I love how Frederick Chilton's so pissed off by it, and then as he leaves, Barney just starts laughing. Because I love Barney. Barney's one of my favorite characters in this franchise.
Barney's awesome.
Yeah, Frederick Chilton looks so fucking old as well. And it's the same actor who played him in Silence of the Lambs. Obviously, he wasn't relevant in Hannibal because he was already dead. But yeah, to see him come back again, he's another actor who looks substantially older. And we're in a prequel. I would have much more preferred a recasting, I think, of Frederick Chilton than to bring the actor back and put. Because the thing that annoyed me is they slap so much makeup on them to try and de-age them, but it just looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he looks like he's like powdered in white powder to try and hide his wrinkles and stuff, and it just looks really, really stupid. We spoke about this before. I've just watched Dexter Origins, hence so why I've gone on this whole Dexter kick at the moment. That is fucking awesome with the de-aging of Christian Slater in the flashback scenes, because even though you know it's prosthetics, it's not heavily prosthetics, it's just mass amounts of like foundation filler to hide his wrinkles and stuff, and it's the same actor, there's no CGI in it, he's just de-aged in a very palatable way where you still know it's the same actor, you still know he's old as fuck, but it's like, yeah, all right, that looks that looks passable. That's what they try to do here, but they just don't do it very, very well, in my opinion.
No, I don't think they do either. We get a date between the Tooth Fairy and his blind co-worker, and he takes her to see a tiger that's being given some sort of surgery or some sort of treatment. This is weird. And first off, I thought it was a fake tiger until I went and looked at behind the scenes. This is a
No, it's a real tiger.
It's a real ass tiger. And she's very handsy with the real tiger, like she runs her hands down its side, and then she cups its bollocks, which I was like, okay then. And I understand why. It's to show that she's very open with her sexuality, and she's almost hinting like, this is what I could do for you. It's that kind of vibe, but it's just weird seeing some woman. It's cat people. Like some cat person likes fucking cat testicles, and I don't get it.
Yeah, it's very. Yeah, I mean, it's very sexually erotic. Not that I'm into bestiality, but obviously in the story, it's to do with sort of like the back and forth between her and Francis Dolarhyde, and even in the, which I'm very, very surprised at, even in the movie The Red Dragon, they do show him sort of getting some sort of sexual arousal over seeing her touch this tiger in that way. But the story, the novel itself, goes into a lot more deeper contrasting between the purpose of it. And
after this, they go back to his place to knock boots, basically, and they do.
Yes.
And again, this is another point where I'm going, you can have a normal life, just like stop now and have a normal life. And this is where you start to get a real inkling of how mentally ill he is. And you start hearing like his mother's voice saying he has to kill the girl. And I love that he actually fights back and he's like, no, fuck you. She's really nice to me. She's not an asshole. I'm not going to. And he goes to the museum to eat the painting of the Red Dragon in a way to try and feed it and suppress his urges, because he actually doesn't want to kill at this point. And I find that
to consume it, to be it. So he is the Red Dragon. Rather than being controlled by it, he consumes it. So he is the Red Dragon himself. So he is in control.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love the fact that he actually reaches a point where he's like, I don't need to be this way. And there's a way I can stop it. The problem is from here, it kind of all unravels very quickly for him, and it all unravels. So there's another guy who works with him who is the biggest fucking creep ever, and he sees this guy hitting on the girl, and she's like, no, fuck off, I don't want anything to do with you, you're like a weird little creepy fucking horrible man. And he kisses her on the cheek, and this is where like he just snaps. He completely snaps. Yeah,
kills him there and then, which is great. And this is where my shift comes from, my appreciation for Michael Mann's Manhunter and my appreciation for Red Dragon, because this is a pivotal point in the story where the most exciting part of the novel is implemented into this movie that's not introduced into Michael Mann's movie, is because he kills this guy with purpose. Not that it's relevant to the audience at the time. He kills him, shoots him dead there, and him and Reba, he kidnaps Reba, takes her back to his house. And this is just one of those sort of like crime scene, true story element moments where you get that, holy shit, that's, the holy shit kind of moment you've been waiting for, where everything's just like in your brain, because he sets fire to the house. He sets fire to the house. He tells Reba, because he knows Will Graham's onto him, because he's been back to work to try and burn some of the evidence so he can live this normal life with Reba. When he goes to burn the evidence, he turns up at his work and he finds out Will Graham's tracked him down. He knows who he is. He's at his workplace, and it's not going to be long before they catch up to him. So this is where he relies on instinct. He kills the guy at the door. He kidnaps Reba. He takes Reba back to his house, and he sets fire to the place. And he has this moment, which is all staged, it's all theatrics. and he says he's going to kill Reba, but instead he turns a gun on himself. Reba's blind, so she assumes he's blown his head off. And we have this really cool scene earlier on, which I'm really surprised this movie actually did, where as he brings her back to his home for the first time, she's walking through the corridor and she's counting her steps to navigate where she's going. She hears a clock. She does 3 turns from the left because of the clock and all the rest of it. Francis Dolarhyde knows this. He knows this in his mind, that she's mapped the place out in her mind because she's blind. So he sets fire to the place. He pretends to shoot his head off, but in fact, he actually blows the head off the guy that he killed on the doorstep.
Yep.
She feels around on the floor, finds that he's killed himself, and she turns herself and she manages to escape. And he knows she's going to escape. He saved her. He set her free because she knows that she can find a way out to the door. He set the fire purposely so she has a clear walkway out. One thing that this movie doesn't include, which I feel was vital, is that in the book and in the original, he has a key. He has a key that he keeps around his neck, which is a key to the front door. And that's one way that she identifies that it's him. Rather than just feeling like a body of mess, she feels a necklace and she takes the necklace off to use the key to get out the front door. Perfectly executed in the book. It should have been implemented in this movie. But again, they don't do this ending in Michael Mann's Manhunter, which they really, really should have, because it's such a vital part of the story. The police think Francis Dolarhyde's dead. Reba's in the hospital recovering. Everyone feels like it's game over. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
No, because he's at Will Graham's house and he's got Will Graham's son by knife point in a bedroom. And
yes,
this is where you get a true understanding of how clever the character of Will Graham is and how much he understands what's going on. When he goes after when he goes after him, does exactly what his mum used to do to make him.
But why do you know that? Why do you know that? Because you've read the book and because you've watched Manhunter, not because this movie has told you. If you just watch this movie on its own, which is one thing that really pissed me off on my watch this time, when he's belittling his son, he's saying, "You've pissed yourself, you've wet yourself, you're such a disgrace, you're a dirty little boy." Not at one point in Red Dragon do they reference that in this film. They reference that he had a traumatic trauma in his childhood through his stepmother, but they do not implement in any way the reasons behind it. Whereas the story really dives into him wetting himself and his piss in his bed traumas. And they do the same thing in Michael Mann's Manhunter, but they do not once reference it in this film. So when you get to this point in the closing act, and he's belittling his son, he's saying, "You dirty little beast, you've wet yourself. I'm going to chop it off. I'm going to chop it off." It just feels fucking wrong, man. And it feels weird. And it's like, because you haven't got that initial setup, because you don't have that build up to explain it. And we only know that as an audience because we're fans of this story and we've read the book and we've seen the original movie, but it doesn't implement that in this film at any point.
And it never dawned on me until you've just said it now, but it doesn't. But I know it because I've read the book and because I've seen
exactly.
It.
And it's just annoying, man. And I'm saying this as somebody who used to love Red Dragon unconditionally, but watching it this time around, man, these flaws were just so apparent to me. I'm like, hang about, how have you got to this point? To me, you're just picking on your son for no reason. And he's empathizing with your son, which is obviously the objective and the purpose of doing it. But like, you've not set that up in this movie at any point.
No, you're right. They haven't. The one thing they did set up in this movie that I thought was really cool. So the Tooth Fairy and Will Graham have a shootout, and they both shoot each other, and the Tooth Fairy's down, and he's crawling up the hallway. Earlier in the movie, when they thought the Tooth Fairy was coming after the family, you get a really cool scene where Will Graham teaches his wife how to use a gun and how to use it safely and how to defend herself. And it's her using the knowledge they set up an hour and 20 minutes earlier, who then goes and puts about 300 bullets in the Tooth Fairy just to make sure he's down. And I thought that was really clever writing. It's like, I'm going to show you how to use it.
It's really cool as well.
And it's a real throwaway thing. Like when he teaches her how to use that gun, it's almost like as he's going out the door to go and do something else, it's like, this is how you do it. This is safety off. This is how you hold it. Right, you good? Right, I'm going. And it's not a big thing. And then in this moment when she's like, you see her pick the gun up, the safety goes off, she gets her arm straight, she holds her wrist, you're like, fuck, that's so cool. and then she
Very
takes
cool.
him down. And like the ending of this, that moment there is fabulous. And then you kind of get this time jump where Will's out on his boat with his family and his kid and his wife. And then we cut to Hannibal Lecter and Dr. Chilton going, "You have a visitor, an FBI agent called Clarice Starling." And it literally rolls straight into Silence of the Lambs. Like the ending of
which
this
is really cool as
timed
well. It
beautifully.
shows why he's standing up in his cell as Clarice comes in Silence of the Lambs. I thought that was a really cool, subtle thing that they did. You were saying earlier about it being nonchalant on his bed when Will Graham came in, and he was like, "Yeah, he's not upright, ready for when Clarice Starling comes in." I was like, "Yeah, but wait till we get to the end, because there's a reason why he stood up ready for her."
Yeah, exactly that. But like, there's lots of things in this that are done very well, referencing like the previous movies. It's not a bad movie, but we'll do it in our roundup. Shall we take a break?
Of course.
I do. I don't know that anyone else does.
I say something that comes across from the movie.
I don't always remember what you're quoting from the movie.
Me neither.
But there's been a couple times where I've gotten to what you were going to say ahead of you, so that's good.
The Dewey Pod Monster podcast is something truly unique. Hosted by John and Sean, this show brings you everything you could possibly want about consumption, whether that's craft beers, TV, film, video games, or just general banter. These guys nail it every single week.
Yes, Good Hand Ninjas, throwing stars, headbutts, ear claps, nunchucks. The word ninja and kids stuff.
Well, if the world of VHS is your thing, the only place you can go is Video Tasties. Hosted by Gareth, this show brings you everything. Live watch-along parties with special guests, deep dives, behind-the-scenes footage, and of course, a look at his fabulous VHS collection. For these and all the other members of the You Run Podcast Network, head over to yourunpodcast.com, your home of entertainment. So please go and check out all the members of the You Run Podcast Network. There's so many shows there for you to check out. Honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. yourunpodcast.com. You'll find our shows, all the other 19 members of the You Run Podcast Network, our shop, links to all of our socials, like absolutely everything you could possibly imagine. yourunpodcast.com. It's time for your recommended account. Are you ready?
No, my fuck.
Would you like some music while you get ready?
Yes, please.
Are you ready yet?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm ready now.
Fire away.
This week's recommended account is sword_souls on Instagram, as always. This is nothing new. These are you've seen them on Instagram plenty of times before. You've seen people paint images on swords and all the rest of it. Tattoo artists seem to do it quite frequently. But this account specifically is a new account, and their actual artwork is vastly more impressive than most of the stuff I've seen prior. I mean, the title itself gives it away. They paint artwork on swords. They're horror based, from what I've seen from that account so far. Anyway, one of the most amazing ones I've seen come out from them so far is the House of a Thousand Corpses Captain Spaulding one. It's fucking awesome. They've got an It the Clown one, which is really, really cool, which shows like It in the bottom half and then Georgie in the top half, which is incredible. One of the ones that I know you will be all over, Scott, is a Five Nights at Freddy's one. And I'm not a big Five Nights at Freddy's fans, you know that. But this Saw, I would like to have that up pinned on the wall in my office because it looks fucking incredible. I imagine this guy works on commission. You could probably request certain artwork if you wanted. So these are a great thing to have on display in any office, workspace, horror room, video room, whatever you want. Go check him out. Go show him some support. I say him. I don't know if it's a him. I don't know if it's a her. I don't know if it's a them. But go check them out at sword_souls. Give them a like, give them a follow, let them know the You Run Podcast sent you there, and show some support, man. Show some support to some little businesses, because they really, really are incredible. Their artwork is fantastic.
And we've said it all along since the show started. Buy local, support the little guys. That's how it works.
Exactly that.
Let's do some facts. So Anthony Hopkins was such a fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman whenever he done scenes, even if it was Anthony Hopkins' day off, he came in to sit and watch Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's how good Philip Seymour Hoffman is. That Hopkins had like 3 days off when Hoffman was recording. He's like, no, I'm going to come in. And he literally just took it. I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff. He literally just takes like a fold up chair, sits behind camera. And as soon as he's finished every take, Anthony Hopkins is up, like clapping, like applauding, like he's just watched a play. He's like,
yeah, he is that good.
He really is. So every single person that I'm about to name turned down their role in this movie. Anthony Hopkins, Edward Norton, Ralph Fiennes, Philip Seymour Hoffman all said, no, fuck you guys, we don't want to do another one. That was until they brought on Ted Talley, who was the original scriptwriter of Silence of the Lambs. They went back to all of them and went, look, Ted Talley's writing the screenplay. And they all went, no, okay, fine, we'll come back. But initially, every single one of them went, nope, not interested. Get that shit away from
They
me.
should have maybe stuck to the guns. I'm glad Jodie Foster did as well for Hannibal.
Yeah, I am. Ralph Fiennes' back tattoo, 8 hours every day to apply that.
And again, I don't think that's a good tattoo either. Like in the original Michael Mann one, fucking hell, I wouldn't. If you put a soundbite together to actually quote how many times I said original Michael Mann one in this podcast episode, Jesus Christ. But that one had like color and it had depth and it showed the red. But this just looks like a fucking tribal tattoo of a dragon on his back. Like there was no depth, no layers to it. There was no color to it. You know, it felt flat, man.
Do not be throwing shade at someone who's got a tribal dragon on their back when I have a fucking great big dragon that covers the entirety of my back.
You've got a tramp stamp, man. That's all you've got.
And just above that, I actually have the You Run podcast logo.
I still can't believe you had that done.
I did. So all of the shots of Baltimore State Hospital at the very beginning are actually shots used from Silence of the Lambs that they've reused because the building was demolished when they come to making this movie. I said earlier, Will Graham only appears in 4 scenes with Hannibal Lecter, exactly the same amount of times as Jodie Foster and Hannibal Lecter in the original. Philip Seymour Hoffman, this just tells me how great he is. So, you know, when he's glued to the chair, he insisted they actually glued him to the chair to make it authentic. He's actually glued to the fucking chair because he wanted, his argument was like, every time I move, if I'm glued, it's going to hurt, which is going to make my performance so much more authentic because it's going to hurt. And I'm going to show that pain in my face as he gets naked in front of me. And yeah, it just works so well. I said earlier, so the stunt where Philip Seymour Hoffman's character Freddie Lowes is on fire was a real stuntman. They wrapped him in a all-in-one prosthetic bodysuit, which was all the burnt skin. But before they put that on him, they wrapped him in fire retardant material, lathered him in fire gel, then put a fire retardant suit, then put a full latex rubber, entire burnt corpse bodysuit over the top. They then set him on fire and dragged him 80 meters down a road on wires before they put him out. That stuntman, kid legend.
Yeah, that is cool.
We have some voicemails.
Awesome.
We're going to kick off with this one from Becky.
Hi guys, just finished listening to your Pet Sematary episode. Great episode, haven't seen that film since it came out, so I'll have to give it a rewatch sometime. This message is for Mark. Mark, we're going to fall out. Second time now. But you do understand that just because you don't like certain things doesn't mean other people can't like certain things. So stop picking on my cats and stop picking on my Funko Pops.
This is where you're wrong, Beck. You see, I am building a cult. I'm taking inquiries and I'm taking sign-ups, and I have a trajectory. I have a method. I have a path in which I'm taking with this cult, and it's kind of based upon whatever I say goes. There's been a lot of feedback.
Is it called the anti-Funko cat?
Yes, we're building bonfires. We're taking cat donations and we're taking Funko Pop donations. So if you'd like to be a member, please feel free to contact me at yourunpodcast.com.
Do you know what? I reckon you could cause some serious amount of rage online if you went and bought a relatively rare Funko Pop and slung it on your barbecue and filmed it in time lapse as it melts. I reckon you'd cause so much anger.
Coming to you in summer. I would be willing to spend the funds just to piss people off. I say that, but Beck put because we're recording in real time tonight for a change. Beck put a post up today of her Sharknado Funko Pop, and that is the first Funko Pop I've ever seen where I was like, that's actually really fucking cool, and I kind of want it.
Yeah.
I know I had to comment on it and take the piss out of you both a little bit and put lols, but I was at deep down, I was like, oh, that's actually really awesome.
Yeah, some of them are really cool. We have another message as well.
Send y'all a message to let you know that y'all are some trifling ass bitches for being like, I don't like cats. Don't have a picture of your child or I won't follow you. Boy, I know the hell y'all both lying because y'all follow me. And I've had pictures of my children. I mean, my page was more horror focused. But now I don't do any of that as much. I don't have time. So, like, pictures of my children. Anyway, don't be fucking so, pretentious maybe? Oh, that was Stevie. She was sneezing. Anyway, I'm listening to the episode because it's me and just the two kids here right now, so I have some time. We'll see how it goes, how much I can listen. But I want to say that I don't love animals in general, but I do like cats. I don't own a cat. I don't want pets in my home. I mean, I will get a cat eventually because they're self-sufficient. But I want to say, Scott, you have a little dog, which is basically the same thing as a cat. And Mark, I know you had a dog, R.I.P., I think. Or you have a dog? I don't know. But either way, Scott, you need to chill the fuck out, bro. Because, like, hello, your dog is almost as big as a cat. Okay, I'm going to finish this episode. Bye.
Well, I mean, firstly, Heather, thanks for the reminder that I should unfollow you after this episode has finished recording. Secondly, I thought we were close enough for you to know the trauma that I went through when my dog died. Thanks for that. And thirdly, it's not pretentious for me to not want to follow random people's accounts that feature their children on the internet. Like I have an account which is horror based. I like to talk horror on my account. I like to view horror on my account. I don't want some strangers' children popping up and being like, oh, hey, Tommy just did his first shit in a potty. This is fantastic. Yay. I don't give a fuck. I don't know Tommy. I don't care who Tommy is. And the fact that some stranger shitting in a potty at 4 years old is popping up on my Instagram account is weird. I don't need it. I don't want it.
It's different with Heather, though. Like, because we know
Of course.
Heather.
Of course. We love Heather, and Heather is cool. But this is it. There is exceptions to the clientele. And Heather falls into that exception. Mary falls into that exception as well. I know Mary posts a lot of her children and stuff like that, but I love Mary. Mary's been a regular guest on the show. She's a friend of the show. So I'm excited by her life because I know her. But strangers who I don't know, who follow me, whose account is just their children, it's like, no, why would I want that? Why would I want to see that pop up in my newsfeed? I don't think that's a pretentious thing to make a statement about. And as for cats, they're not self-sufficient. They walk on your counters. They're like, this is what I mean about cats, right? Cats are vermin. So like they do what they want in their house. They walk on whatever they want. At least a dog is trained. A dog is trained to stay on the floor. It's trained to stay in its bed. We didn't used to let our dog go upstairs. But like cats, they walk on like kitchen counters. They walk on kitchen counters where you're cooking and you're cleaning. And it's like, fuck you, you feral little thing. You've been out killing birds 2 minutes ago. I'm cooking a lasagna and you're bringing your dirty paws on my kitchen worktop.
And also, Heather attacks my dog. I mean, look.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, mate, that is a proper ratty little thing. That you could hide that under a chef's hat and it could tell you how to make a macaroni.
Anyone who's not watching, you can watch the episodes on Spotify and on YouTube, and you get to see my beautifully gorgeous dog called Flo, who, to be fair, is smaller than most cats. We have another message, so let's do that one now. We both complained at Heather. We're getting a call next week, I'm sure.
Wow, Scott, that was harsh. I've just listened to the Pet Cemetery episode, and that was brutal, and you're way out of line, in my opinion. I agree with Mark on this one, pretty much 100%. It was okay first watch, much better the second, and yeah, but I congratulate you on your cat hate. We need to see more of that.
Yeah.
I am going to run off to see the Demi Moore meme. I know I've already commented, but I just need to see some more of that shit. And Mark, what an account of the week this week. I've already followed it. It is awesome. I am going to try and watch every Shark list on the list. Probably not in order, because I've probably seen a fair few, because my own list is like 36 long. So check that out on my letterbox, by the way. See you guys later.
I know Dave loves a shark movie.
Yeah.
I feel like that recommended account of the week was catered specifically for him.
Yeah, and like he jumped straight on the back of I said the Demi Moore thing was coming. We'll do it now. Memes to make you mad. So this is going to be a very visual memes to make you mad, as is our game today, which again is another incentive for me to say go and watch us on YouTube at You Run Podcast, or listen on Spotify where you can also watch the video. If you're listening somewhere else, great, but like at this moment, maybe switch to somewhere else so you can see what's going on as well. So this was the meme that I put up, and this was not a meme to make you mad. This is just a meme I made. It was a spin on the Jennifer Tilly one that came out earlier this year, and I thought it was funny. That's the meme. You could be a 21-year-old Insta model, and Demi Moore in her 60s is still a threat level 10 around your man. And Demi Moore in that photo is 60 years old. Hot. We would agree?
Yeah, definitely. I used to love Demi Moore, man. Her, and people were always like, yeah, striptease, man, striptease. No, I liked the short haircut in Ghost. Ghost was my Demi Moore, man. I was like, oof, yeah.
So
not so much the G.I. Jane level short. That was a little bit too much, but I like the crop thing that she had going on in Ghost. I was all over that.
Yeah, so I put that meme up, and I'll be honest, I didn't think anything of it. I just put the meme up. I got a couple of likes, a couple of comments. Fast forward 3 weeks. 3.6 million views, over 70,000 likes, and 1,300 comments of absolute hate, vile, putrid behavior, of which I've selected the cream of the crop to share with all of you. This is probably going to be the last meme to make you mad, because putting this segment together actually made me mad at how arseholey people are online. So we have got Colin Lee. No, she's not. She is built like Nate Diaz and clearly has unnatural work done on her face. Most men ain't into that. I'm going to say now, most men don't give a flying fuck if someone's had a little bit of work done on their face.
You say that though, mate, but I have to disagree, because I'm a big advocate for au naturel. You know, I don't like fake boobs. I've said this before on the show. I don't do the whole fake boob things, and I'm really not a big fan of like the Botox thing either. You know. Yeah,
but like, she's not built like Nate Diaz either. He's a UFC.
No. I'm not saying in this situation his statements are correct. I'm just saying as a general consensus, be yourself, women. You look glorious regardless. You don't need to be consumed. Do you know what I think it is that does that to women? Because I know I see a lot of men doing a similar thing, which is a wild pattern I've seen occurring lately, is men becoming quite subconscious of their image and the way they look and how they need to represent themselves. And I think it all stems down to the social media world we live in, and especially with like, I know I'm going off on a massive tangent right now, but I'm kind of invested.
I'm gonna let it go.
I'm invested in it now, so I'm going to go with it. It's like TV shows, and especially reality TV shows, like Love Island and things like that, where you get these sort of bimbo broads
Chisel.
coming out, which I'm sure are all lovely people in real life, but they're so fake and so fabricated. The Kardashians, for instance, are so fake and so fabricated that they are so spotlighted and so socialized and globalized by people that they feel like they need to live up to these expectations to be this certain type of way and have this certain type of image and this certain type of look, and I feel like reality has just lost itself in a concept that is becoming more and more like the Matrix every single day. And I don't say that as a tinfoil hat wearing person. I say that as somebody who I genuinely see this in my day-to-day life. And it worries me having a young daughter who is going to grow up in this world where she has to look at these images of women representing themselves in certain ways that's not real, that's not genuine. And I'm like, I don't like it, man. And it pisses me off with the expectations that people are supposed to live up to by today's standards, which are not realistic and are not real, you know, and it does my head in. Sorry, tangent finished. I don't know where I was going with it. I just felt like it needed to come out.
It's fine. It's fine. Caligo Hannibal went with 100% baby oiled and diddified, to which I was a bit confused initially. Then I got another comment from Undercover White Hat, who I think is Undercover Tinfoil Hat, but we'll get there in a minute. Demi Moore is a man and a child abuser. Easy video to find her making out with a boy, Disney music playing in the background, MK Ultra. So I then went on a little tangent and went to Google to find out what everyone was talking about, because lots of people called her a pedo, and I was like, I don't really know. So
I've got the list, mate. She's not on it.
There was a video of her at 16 kissing a 15-year-old boy who won a competition, and it was a peck on the lips. Like, yeah, probably not fully appropriate, but fuck, it's far from being a pedo.
I mean, come on, man. Fucking hell. When I was in school, I was kissing 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 14-year-olds, do you know? And there was 15-year-old boys a similar age sleeping with 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You would never brand them a paedophile. It's just an age group that you're all categorized in, you know? I don't think you can categorize that as someone who gets to their 60s and then be condemned for something that they did in their teenage years when you're all living in similar social circles of a similar age group. Idiots.
Gory Lottie. For something to be a meme, it has to be funny. This is the most mundane, unfunny post I've ever seen. To which I replied, 76,286 people disagree with you, but thanks for your comment.
And the statement that you make that memes need to be funny is factually incorrect. I like many memes on a daily basis, and not all of them are funny. Most of them are very factual and very serious.
This is where I go into really pulling people out and making a thing. William Black, he went with, I'll have her and the hot 21 Insta model bitch. This is William.
I would love to know how vast his Pokemon collection is.
So we had that one. Then we had table blend sold. She's a pedo, and so are you for posting this. And I replied, thanks. Then we had Losep. What sort of degenerate would write something like this? It can only be a small dick's man.
How big is your dick?
Small.
Are you an average man? Are you an average?
Yeah.
Are you? Where would you categorize yourself? Just for factual purposes, because I don't want to go in bigging you up, being, oh no, Scott's a big guy. If you're not, because I don't want to be unbiased on the show.
I'm going to go factually on to the next comment, which comes from George. George, me and George had a long back and forth. So George went, no, she's not. She's a washed up Hollywood run through 60 plus grandma who is no comparison to a 20-year-old who is fit. So I called him out going, yeah, I get what you're saying, but to say she's washed up when she's just been nominated for an Oscar is a bit of a fucking stretch. This led to a whole host of very, very horrible comments for him, saying about how he only likes women in their 20s and he's got no time for older women. And then he went on to brag that he had a $1,300 hat, which led to a whole host of wonderful women absolutely ripping him to shreds systematically. And I wanted to share with you the $1,300 hat and the gorgeous man that is George, who only pulls younger women. Brace yourself. This is George.
He looks like he serves Kentucky Fried Chicken. What the fuck is that dude wearing?
Exactly. We had Bud Silverado, who I actually reported, and I very rarely do this. I reported, and many other people did as well, and his account's actually disappeared now. He put, well, I'm 35, and I banged a 19-year-old last year. The oldest I've ever gone is 24. Give young girls alcohol green, and they'll party with older dudes. There's lots of daddy issues out there to exploit boys.
Oh, you sick, perverted motherfucker.
Yeah. So he got reported and his account's actually disappeared now. All of these were men. And I was like, this is really horrible. And I liked the fact there was loads of women in there supporting Demi Moore. And then we found one who didn't. And she went hard. Like, she shocked me. Like, a woman denigrating another woman is not something you see online very often. This comes from Pretty Gal. And she went, who cares? She cannot compete with beautiful young women like me.
Holy Michael Jackson shit. What the fuck is that? This
that
is what I mean, man. This is what I mean. Like, women like that, I'm sure you're a very lovely person.
No, she's not. She's a
Pretty
fucking horrible
girl.
person. She's a horrible
Okay, she's
person
not.
who was constantly horrible to many people and Demi Moore for no reason.
But like, you don't look old enough to earn money to be able to pay for that shit yourself. So you're spending daddy's money to make yourself look like Chucky from Child's Play, which is just wild. Stop doing it. And you're doing it because that is what social media is telling you to do. You look fucking ridiculous. You look like you should be moonwalking across fucking Instagram, let alone anything else.
So that is memes to make you mad. That is the last one for a while because people are just fucking awful. We got some of your thoughts this week as well. LK, the horror nerd, went with Absolute Cinema. And they are member of the You Run Podcast Network, awesome horror creator. AMP FX Studios, this is Alex. We've had him on the show before. Awesome guy. I love it. The book is pretty damn good too. It's years since I read it, but I remember this being a pretty close adaptation, and it is. Nope. To be fair, the second half is. Second half is.
The last act is the only section that is.
Under the Floorboards podcast, another member of the You Run Podcast Network, they went with Edward Norton is the GOAT. Ralph Fiennes is an actor of a generation. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Anthony Hopkins. I fucking love this movie. Brilliant. We have a nice little game today, and it is a nice little game, and it's kind of crime related because it kind of ties into this. It is a visual game. Remember, You Run Podcast on YouTube or on Spotify, and you get to play this game along. So I'm going to show Mark photographs of incredibly hot, sexy, virile male and female felons.
Yeah.
And all Mark has to do, all you have to do is tell me what crime they committed.
Okay. Okay.
So this is your first one.
This dude is a very, very good looking guy. Like, those eyes.
Yeah.
The most piercing thing. He's a crackhead.
No, he's not. He's an armed robber.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't mind being held up by gunpoint by him.
No, give me everything you've got. No problem. Thank you very much.
That's a jawline to die for, man. Fucking hell.
Exactly. So that was Jeremy Meeks. He's an armed robber. We have this one.
Wow, she's pretty.
Yeah. Could you fix her? That's the question.
Could I fix her? I don't know, man. I feel like she's like the perfect final girl in any sci-fi movie. I have no idea what she would have possibly done to get herself in jail. Is she a teacher who has sex with children?
No, she's not. She got done for driving under the influence. She's a drink driver. The next one is actually a celebrity. So this is a guy from a TV show called Gossip Girl.
I've never seen Gossip Girl. I don't know. He looks like an alright dude. Looks normal enough. Um, um, I don't know. Assault, GBH.
You painted him bad. No, he got done for drug possession, copious amounts of marijuana. He claimed was for
Is
personal
that
use.
even a crime?
The amount he got caught with, I think, was a crime. He said personal use, and unless he's ripping bongs with Snoop Dogg every 8 seconds, it was not for personal use. Up next, we have this guy.
Oh, do you know what I find really intriguing about eyes like that? The whole David Bowie thing, where one eye's one color, and one eye's the other. I don't know, man. I don't know what. I'm not very good with pinpointing people's looks to criminal activities. I don't think people have a look. Ted Bundy was one of the most handsome men on the planet, and he was the worst. So judging somebody's looks by their crimes is a really difficult game to play.
This guy's also got the coolest name ever. His name is Mekai Lucky.
Mekai Lucky, right? Fraud. He maybe wasn't so lucky.
No, he was unlucky. He got caught driving a stolen vehicle.
Grand Theft Auto, nice.
Yeah. And finally, we have Abby Newman.
Abby Newman. She looks like she's part of a cult.
Part of a cult. That's not a crime.
Yeah, of course, being part of a cult is a crime. If it's like a dodgy cult.
She could be part of your cat and Funko Pop cult.
No, she looks like she likes cats. She's not welcome.
And Funko Pops.
Yeah. This is it. That's her crime. She has too many Funko Pops and owns cats. Am I right? Am I right? I'm right. All right.
You're actually not far off, because her crime is shoplifting. I don't know what it was she stole, but we're going to say it was Funko Pops. So that was our stupid game this week. I'm going to round this up first. I really enjoy this film. Like, the casting's exceptional. The performances are also fantastic. It's fairly faithful. It has some differences, but for me, it's faithful enough that I can follow it along. Manhunter overall is a better movie. And I think the biggest issue I have with this is that this and Manhunter both stay, in the most part, very faithful to the source material, which is great, but also makes both of these movies very samey, but Manhunter's a better samey. To cap all of that off, Hannibal, the TV series, is the best version of Red Dragon by a country mile. I would watch 25 episodes of that story over either one of these movies without hesitation. I think that the series made enough changes that it made it interesting again. Like, it was faithful to a point, but then it made like big alterations that still worked within the story and still worked within the world, which made me more invested. Whereas Manhunter, I loved. This, I wasn't quite as invested in. And like, this is not a bad movie. It's a really good movie, but I'm kind of just a bit meh on the whole thing. It's a 3 out of 5 for me. It's good, but is it great? Probably not when I hold it up against the other things that are the same around it. It's like, if the series is a 5, Manhunter's a 4.5, this can't be any higher than a 3. So that's where I am.
And I think that's one thing that we're going to highlight quite a lot throughout this month is remakes comparability to the original, and you're going to try and avoid it as much as you want to. But like you said, this movie does hold so many similarities to Manhunter and to the novel that it doesn't justify enough the retelling of the story, whereas Hannibal TV series goes in a completely different direction while still being faithful to the original narrative, while injecting changes that make the story entertaining and engaging. Whereas This doesn't. It follows beat by beat, but leaves out so many key factors to the story that are relevant that it just questions its purpose at the end of it, by the time the credits roll. Welcome to the intro. Strap yourself in. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Let me get comfortable. Fucking. Is it going to be? Oh,
you pervert!
I feel like this is one episode where it would justify my 10-hour rant, but I'm not going to do that this week. I can't.
You can't see me.
I can't. I feel like I'm traumatized by the fucking constant jabbing and poking to my extended roundups. So I'm not going to do them anymore. So I'm going to try and keep this contained. But what I will say is, I think the cast is pretty exceptional. I think Ralph Fiennes is a fantastic Francis Dolarhyde. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman is an exceptional Freddie Lowndes. I think Will Graham's Edward Norton is very lackluster. It's all right because it's Edward Norton, but we've already established in this episode, Edward Norton is Edward Norton. You know what you're getting from him when he's cast in a movie. I don't think he brings anything different to what he's done in previous roles, and I don't think he entirely sells the character to the level that it deserves. I think this movie in particular is a perfect example of Hollywood. It is catering to masses and massively excluding fans. They wanted to sell tickets to get people in the cinema, and they didn't put faith in the source material enough alone. So they injected Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal through as much scenes as they possibly could to show familiarity to what the continuation is. And that was something that I just don't feel was necessary for this story. It didn't need to be there. I love Anthony Hopkins. I think he's a fantastic Hannibal. Do I think he's the best Hannibal? No, I don't. I think he's fucking exceptional in Silence of the Lambs, but I haven't seen what Brian Fuller and Mads Mikkelsen can do with the Silence of the Lambs source material yet, because they haven't got the rights issues to them. But give Brian Fuller and Mads Mikkelsen a shot at that, and I can guarantee you right now, in a couple of years' time, if that series ever comes to fruition, that I will say Mads Mikkelsen handled that story a lot better than Anthony Hopkins ever could. I'm glad Anthony Hopkins is here and he came back for it, but I feel like the one particular scene that was relevant to the story would have been justifiable enough to showcase him. And I wish the Hollywood had enough faith in the source material for them to do that, because they sacrifice so much of necessary information for this story to stand on its own two legs.
Yeah.
By interjecting him in so many scenes that he didn't need to be there. So much is cut from Francis Dolarhyde's backstory. So much is cut from Will Graham's into battle with himself and his inner turmoil and the balance that he walks between psychopath and good guy, which is the whole horcrux of the story. I feel massively let down that we have spent a whole hour and 20 minutes, hour and 10 minutes talking about this film, and not once have we actually even touched upon the crimes that Francis Dolarhyde commits with the Leeds family and the Reed family, and his changing and his developments into his serial killer character, and the crimes he actually commits, which is so vital and so pivotal to the story and showcased so masterfully in Michael Mann's version. It's a crime thriller where they track down a serial killer, and Hannibal Lecter is in the film for 30 seconds. And the story is so engaging, it's so impactful, it's so powerful, and it's one of the best serial killer drama thrillers out there that you can watch. And this movie butchers it all to keep it relevant to the previous two movies that have come before it, which it didn't need to do. This movie did not need to be made, in my opinion. I said it before in the episode. They should have highlighted how important Michael Mann's Manhunter was and how Silence of the Lambs was a continuation from that. Because I don't think there is a better version of this story than Michael Mann's. And I love the TV series, but I don't think even that touches upon the greatness that is Michael Mann's Manhunter. It is one of the best movies I have seen in the last 10, 15 years. I love it unconditionally. I watch it all the time. And I walked into this loving Red Dragon. I love Red Dragon. I've said it on the show. I've said it many times before. Red Dragon was my favorite in the Hannibal Lecter trilogy. I just cannot see past it now. I cannot see past it and how lackluster this iteration is after discovering Manhunter and reading the book. This movie fails on so many levels, which is such a weird thing to say because I loved it a year ago. I was like, this is the fucking best. Yeah, man. I know Silence of the Lambs is great, but wait till we get to do Red Dragon on the show. And now I'm just like, nah, fuck Red Dragon, which is wild. It's a wild statement for me to make. But yeah, I'm really disappointed by my rewatch because I hadn't seen it in quite some time. And then we got it on the show. I was really, really excited about it, thinking that this was going to be one of those moments where I could compare the two. And all I did was just feel disappointment by the lacking of storytelling and the compromising of elements in order to interject Anthony Hopkins' character. It suffers massively on the overall message of the movie and the importance of Will Graham's character. But not only that, the importance of Will Graham's character underwhelms the intelligence of Hannibal Lecter in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, Hannibal Lecter is a true mastermind in Silence of the Lambs, and he's only being caught by a true mastermind in Will Graham, but we don't get to see how much of a mastermind Will Graham is in this movie because he is so monotone and he's so underwhelmed and he's so shadowed by everything else around him, when really he is the focus of the entirety of the movie. And it doesn't showcase that for me. And it's simplistic stuff like that this movie just misses in order to Hollywoodize it. I know that's not a proper word, but so for me, if you want to watch this movie, by all means go and watch it. But if you want to watch a better version of this movie, then go and watch Manhunter. And if you want a better version of Manhunter, go and read Red Dragon, because Red Dragon is by far one of the greatest books I've ever read in my life. And I've read Lord of the Rings, and you know I love Lord of the Rings. And I think Red Dragon is probably one of the greatest crime thriller novels I've ever read in my life. And I think I will struggle to top that. And saying all that, highlighting the greatness of everything else that's within this universe, that brings me to my final score for Red Dragon. And I never, ever thought I would find myself in a situation like this. But Red Dragon for me is a 2.5 out of 5. It's lackluster, it's underwhelming, and it's very disappointing in hindsight.
Wow. And on that shocking score, like Red Dragon, I thought was going to appear quite high on our leaderboard. And our leaderboard comes out this week. If people who follow us on Instagram, you'll get to see where all the movies are that we've done this year so far and how we've scored them. I thought it'd have been higher than that, but hey, this is where we are. We're going to be back next week with another remake. And next week, I think it's going to be a very interesting episode as we go back into the world of zombies, where I just do not feel at home and I do not like zombie movies. But what are we doing next week, Mark? Go on, you can tell everyone.
I don't know. I ain't seen the polls. Is it Dawn of the Dead?
It is Dawn of the Dead. The remake
Yeah,
of Dawn
Zack
of the
Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, man. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that had actually won, because I don't
Yeah.
pay attention to things, you know.
Well, the thing is, there's two ways I tell you. I either advertise what we're doing next week on a Tuesday, so I know you watch it on a Wednesday, or we bring it up on the episode, and that's how you know what you need to watch next week.
All right, so I'm watching Dawn of the Dead next week, which is fantastic. I love Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, and it's written by James Gunn, which James Gunn's writing is fantastic. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I like this movie. I have one critical scene that I fucking hate, and I will address that next week.
Yeah, I hate zombie movies, so I haven't seen this in 25 years plus. So this
movie's not that old.
Whenever this came out, that's when I watched it, and I haven't watched it since.
Oh man, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited for you because this movie's awesome. This movie is fucking cool, man. Like really, really cool.
We'll see where I am with it next week. Until then, have a wonderful week. And I admire your courage. I think I'll eat your heart. See you all next week.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.
You want to die tonight?
Jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Mark's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. You run podcasts, horror movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. Thank you for taking us on this chilling ride, when nightmares roll free and comedy collide. With your podcast we laugh and cringe, but your content is so good we can't help but binge. You run
It's giving classy yet assy. It's not giving farts though.